The installation of boosters should bring an end to the water woes in St. Joseph shortly. Plans are being formulated to establish a lab to determine if products are still good after their best by date. And coming up in sports, Purple Falcons remain unbeaten in the Christmas basketball competition.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. Residents of St. Joseph should have a more permanent fix to their water woes in just a few months. This from General Manager of the Barbados Water Authority, Keith Roy Halliday, as 2 community water tanks were officially activated in Horse Hill, St. Joseph. Our Lorna Jones was there.
Residents of St. Joseph have been experiencing water supply issues for years, but 2 projects by the Barbados Water Authority should bring relief in just a few months. General Manager Keith Roy Halliday says they're expected to be completed by March and will boost water supply to the area.
We are fabricating a container solution, a container booster that will be installed at Bushy Park, and that will allow us to supply additional water through the Bomiston area into St. John and St. Joseph. As well, Ionics is doing their expansion. They're going up to 150%. They're doing 150% expansion at the plant, and that would allow us through the construction of a booster, an additional pump booster that is occurring at the moment in Trent, to be able to bring water up to Lancaster, Applewaits, and again through Casa Grande into this area as well. So we anticipate that by the end of January, in the first instance, we'll have that booster by Bushy Park established or installed, and by the end of February, March, we'll also have the additional flow coming through the Lancaster area.
Mr. Halliday was speaking as 2 water tanks were officially activated in Horse Hill, St. Joseph. Recently, the community tanks in several rural areas were disconnected or removed as the BWA and a private company worked to settle a contractual dispute. But Mr. Halliday has revealed that Corporate Barbados stepped up in a big way to ensure replacement tanks were available.
We have been closing off the tank donations. We've had so many. The funds that we've been receiving will likely close that off this week as well. The funds that we've been getting has really been to help us with the fitting, some of the issues that, some of the other pertinences and so on that we've had to purchase as well. And we're very, very grateful because it means that the Barbados Water Authority has not had to pull its pocket significantly outside of all of the elbow grease and the hard labor that our staff have given us. And you would have seen how assiduously they worked over the weekend.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the BWA, Leodine Warrow, says the BWA is working to have all the tanks filled.
It is our goal and our aim that every single tank that was either taken up or disconnected, where the water was poured out of the tanks, was poured out, what did they, was the pulling of the plugs? Yeah. Pulling of the plugs in various different areas to have the water just run loose in a water scarce area. We are making sure as a country, as a united front, to say that cannot and will not be tolerated.
A total of 36 tanks are expected to be installed by Christmas. Lorna Jones, CBC News.
Thanks, Lorna. Of course, you can hear more about some of the Barbados Water Authority's projects later in the news on Water Wednesdays. Tonight's topic is customer service. Millions of dollars in goods are being dumped by retailers each year. Minister of Commerce Dwight Sutherland says government is looking at establishing a lab to determine if this can be avoided. Sharika Griffith reports.
Once the best before date on an item arrives, it is taken off the shelf. But Commerce Minister Dwight Sutherland says this does not necessarily mean it is no longer fit for consumption, as the best before date differs from the expiry date.
Expiry dates mean that you need to take it off your shelf and dump it. But the best before date of the 19th means that you can probably use the good on the 20th and on the 21st. So the rate at which this good reaches the limit for consumption may be a short or maybe a long. But if we had these sanitary and phytosanitary lab that we can test the quality of the good to determine how long we can carry the good on the shelf with the BBD date, which is the best before date, then that would minimize the millions of dollars of goods that we dump in this country annually.
Such a lab would require an investment of between $20 and $50 million. In the meantime, Minister Sutherland says government may consider using a facility in the region to conduct such tests. He was speaking to the media following a tour of ShopSmart's Cheapside location. He says one of the major issues identified is differences in shipping costs for some retailers. The minister says he'll be seeking a meeting with these shipping lines before the end of next month.
We're not bullies, but we're here to make sure that everything is fair across the board. So we intend to sit with those persons and indeed have a chat to see how best we can come up with fair pricing to make sure that the person who pioneered wholesale in this country can also benefit from reduced shipping, so that the consumers can indeed get a fair pricing as a result of the removal of the NSR and the reduction in the cost of living.
Minister Sutherland says fair shipping rates will not only benefit the larger stores, but the small vendors who purchase wholesale items from them for resale. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley is promising Barbadians that a year from now, things will get better. In a wide-ranging ministerial statement from the floor of Parliament last evening, the Prime Minister reported on her government's performance for its first 6 months in office. In speaking about the repealed National Social Responsibility Levy, Ms. Motley says that prices are finally coming down.
In May of this year, our inflation rate was 5%. In November, just gone, our inflation rate had fallen to just 0.81%. Some goods have fallen in price. So when you see goods still up there, I tell you, go and shop around this Christmas, and remember that less inflation means more spending power, especially for those on lower incomes, and that there are other prices out there that have come down. Because you cannot tell me that perishables are still old stock on which an SRL was paid before the 1st of July. If they are still old stock, well, then I suggest you send them to the BNSA or to the public health laboratories, because they're going to make you sick.
Prime Minister Motley says government will be correcting many of the challenges like the South Coast sewage system, as well as those in health and tourism.
We are advancing a long-term fix for our South Coast and Bridgetown sewage systems, and Cabinet has taken the decision that the South Coast sewage treatment plant must be upgraded or rebuilt to tertiary standards, as must Bridgetown, and without prejudice to that there must equally be a second permanent outflow on the South Coast to replace the temporary outfall that has just been completed within the last few days. Unexpectedly, sir, we had also to find funds to do critical refurbishments at Grantley Adams in easing the pressure on the cruise air-to-sea passengers, but most importantly, on the repaving of the runways, which are absolutely critical if we are to ensure no disruption to the flow of our tourists, our friends, and our family. Sir, I spoke to you about the accident and emergency at the QEH and expanding the capacity at the 2 polyclinics for 24 hours. These things will shortly be done.
Leader of government business in the Upper House, Senator Jerome Walcott, says government needed to act swiftly to pass the International Companies Repeal Bill 2018. He told the Senate that 8 of Barbados' international business regimes were deemed to be potentially harmful. According to Senator Walcott, if they weren't addressed by December 31st this year, Barbados would be blacklisted.
The blacklisting is as dreadful as it sounds, because it means that once you're blacklisted, no entity, no business in your country can deal with any business in any of the member countries of the OECD. So essentially it carves you out of the way, moves you from the playing field. The Minister of International Business at the time, Mr. Don Willinis, in November the 16th, 2017, committed Barbados to making the necessary legislative amendments no later than the 31st of December this year.
A government minister says there is a need to not only look at legislation, but business facilitation as well. Minister of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, Senator Kay McConney, says improving the way we do business is crucial if Barbados is to move forward. She says businesses of substance must be created.
That create employment, that earn foreign exchange, that contributes to tax, that transfers skills, that upgrades skills. A greater focus needs to be placed on these, not at the expense of any of the other areas in which we were working, but certainly understanding that offshore schools, medical tourism, scientific research, business process outsourcing, niche manufacturing, financial technology, fintech, using the various more modern technologies like blockchain and others. Those are the areas where we will need to position ourselves in those innovative and creative areas so as to find what we need in terms of building growth.
Opposition Senator Crystal Drakes wants Barbados to look at a growth and development plan. She says the current BERT program is one of austerity.
I'm asking for this plan because when we go and we completely change the tax regime in Barbados, we have to have a point of reference by which we're making these changes for our own benefit. Because clearly the international community has shown they're not interested in our development. Whether it be organizations that we are part of, we are not a part of, lending agencies, funding agencies, and the like. Barbadians know we have to chart our way forward. And we have to do so unapologetically.
Barbados and other Caribbean countries need to negotiate with the OECD as one unit. Independent Senator Lyndall Nurse believes the organization benefits when countries try to hammer out deals individually. He's identified at least one situation where failure to speak with one voice has cost the region.
When we try to implement a common tax for cruise passengers throughout the region, and of course, each country went and tried to do its own little thing with the cruise body, and it never, and therefore it never worked. And so we have got to try to make sure that we don't allow, because we don't have any strength, as we know, we have very little strength in these international organizations, and our only strength is going to be when we start to negotiate together and to see ourselves as one region.
The days of Barbadians being forced to travel overseas for expensive medical treatment are numbered, as Sagicor Financial Corporation pushes ahead with its planned medical facility. It's earmarked for Boarded Hall St. George and will be a state-of-the-art cardiovascular and oncology center. Executive Vice President and General Manager for Sagicor's Barbados Operations, Edward Clark, says they're awaiting change of use approval from government. And once that is secured, plans will be finalized and the project will go out to tender later this year.
These are going to be well-trained, well-appointed cardiovascular and oncology specialists. We have a proposed partnership with a North American group, North American medical facility, that I really don't want to say much more than that at this stage. And that we'll be involved in a lot of local medical professionals in the complex. So we expect that to be a high-end, high-quality, available medical care in Barbados for cardiovascular and oncology going forward.
Mr. Clark explains plans are a bit further advanced for a large retirement village also planned for Boarded Hall. It will provide facilities for people 55 years and older whose needs range from assisted to independent living.
For the retirement village, the estates at St. George is the name of the project. That has received government's approval. We have actually gone out to tender for the infrastructure works on that project, and we have received those tenders. That's in excess of about $100 million US, and we expect that this groundbreaking will start in the early first quarter. We are hoping for by the end of January, but early first quarter.
Altogether, the two projects are expected to cost about $200 million. Christmas time in Barbados means ham, alcohol, family, church, and for most Barbadians, hours upon hours of cleaning. One of those Bajans who doesn't miss out on the big Yuletide spruce-up is Saitomia Worrell. We visited her home in the Pine to crash the cleaning party today. When we arrived, we could feel the Christmas spirit as we had to wait for Saitomia to finish up her patio. Then she told us what constitutes a proper Christmas cleaning.
In my opinion, you know, everybody got their way of cleaning. But for me, cleaning is, Christmas cleaning is a general cleaning where you pull down everything and you go in nook and cranny, you get up on top of the ladder, you clean all the top. You know, in the normal cleaning day, you would just sweep. But it's Christmas now, so you got to get that new look. You might not paint, so therefore you got to go all down between these little creases here. You know, and you go up and you move the chair, you pull forward all the chairs, and that's cleaning for me.
So, when this Christmas ritual started for you, when you first started cleaning, it come from your mother? Where it come from?
Well, it come from my mother, I would say. Because as a child, you had your chores to do, you had to do little things that your mother would go down and she would left you to put down the marge, she would left you to scrub the floor with the headboard and the crackers bag. So as you move on and you get your own children, you want your children to be a part of, so you give them little chores, but you left the general cleaning for you. You know, you would tell them clean the windows, but when sometimes you get back on the windows, they clean, so you got to go up and clean the windows. So,
you sure the windows to be clean, or you want to clean the windows again?
Well,
you need to clean them?
Be honest, I want my, God is always think that it is done when I do it.
Okay, yeah.
Well, so that maybe I just want to do it myself.
So, how long your Christmas cleaning takes you to start to finish? Like, tell me what date you would normally start, and then when you be really finished.
Well, I would normally put down the house till like around the ending of October. I would take off the cushion covers off the chairs and put them to wash. And then I would start like so the end of November, pick. But all I doing, I ain't really doing nothing. Because I'm quite ready for my Christmas cleaning till Christmas week. Because I just want them people like to go down to the nitty-gritty. I like to know that Christmas Eve, I driving a nail here and hitting a hammer there. And then I feel, when 2 o'clock and thinking like, I put up curtains, I done. Yeah. I think I have done it.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I like to do it.
So for you know what is the most important thing? If there's one part of the house that got to be the most clean, that you got to give the most energy to, what would you say it is?
This living room. Because as you can see, it got stairs. Yeah. So I like when you come down the stairs, you almost enter a new home.
Okay.
Like in earlier times when my husband and I were living together, he would say, like, wow, as soon as he come down the stairs, this is someplace new. Yeah. Even though he would have passed early in the night, he coming down to somewhere new. So this is my forte. Well, this is my forte. But, you know, you touch here, you touch there, you touch everywhere, all through the house, you come all through the house, but this is my forte.
What would you say to people, there are people that say, it's necessary to do all this Christmas cleaning and things. What would you say to people that have that view?
Well, I ain't a wrong person if this is not necessary. It might not be necessary to them. But it gives me